Welcome to the Cloud Accounting Podcast, a show for accountants and bookkeepers using cloud technology to make their jobs more strategic and impactful. I'm Blake Oliver.
And I'm David Leary.
So David, you blew my mind this morning. I just rode in on my bike to work. I'm still sweaty. I haven't changed yet. I hop on this recording session and you give me this amazing news, which I didn't even hear about because I was at a networking event last night and then went home, went to bed. And
well, I feel like you're Rip Van Winkle. Like you were on vacation for a week and now it's like I woke you up. I tell you this, you like big news today and you thought it was just one other thing. And then I really let you know the big news. So I don't know if we should just jump in.
Let's do it. What is it?
So Brad Smith is stepping down from Intuit.
CEO.
As CEO, this is going to take place on January 1st, 2019. Sasan Goodarzi is going to replace him as CEO. The CTO is actually, Taylor Stansberry is actually stepping down as well. And I know some people are really excited because we're now going to have a female chief technology officer.
Oh, wow.
Marina, I forgot Marina's last name. I'm going to blow it. Watch me. Mariana Tessel. Sorry about that. Mariana Tessel is going to be, so we're going to have a female CTO, which is really cool and kind of a testament to Brad Smith's legacy and the culture of Intuit, which is really, really great.
Brad Smith, he's been at Intuit for 11 years running the show. I mean, was he there before? Must have been.
16 total. So, yeah.
So he's at there 11 years and basically, guided Intuit shifting from a desktop software company to being online in the cloud global platform, which is kind of incredible that he was able to accomplish that in, just about a decade.
It's been a lot of change. And just watching Brad grow has been amazing.
Yeah.
Right. As coming in as a CEO and like full circle, like I think at one time managed the Intuit developer network back when it was called IDN years ago. He actually managed that team early on in the iteration. So he's been, pushing for platforms and developers and apps for a while.
And who's this guy that's going to be taking over for him?
Sasan Goodarzi. So about a year ago, Intuit did a VP division swap, if you want to call it that. So Dan Warnikoff took over all of TurboTax, and Sasan, who was running TurboTax, took over all of the QuickBooks side. So Intuit has like two major divisions, right? Mm-hmm. TurboTax. And so they swapped, and they ran each other's divisions for a while. And then, so Sasan's done TurboTax for years, and now he's done QuickBooks the last, it already feels like a quick 2 years. I feel like Sasan's been running the QuickBooks division. Mm-hmm. And so Sasan is now, obviously Brad's mentored him, and Sasan's ready to take the charge for the future. I think he's our sixth CEO.
Yeah, it's amazing what he's accomplished. Running QuickBooks Online. This Wall Street Journal article I'll put in the show notes says that for the year ended July 31st, QBO's subscriber base grew 38% to 2.6 million, while non-US subscribers grew 62% to 800,000. It's pretty fantastic growth there. And some more stats there. Overall, company revenue was up 17% in the most recent quarter to almost $1 billion, $988 million. And that was helped by a 20% rise in the small business division's revenue. So that is clearly working for Intuit.
Yeah, and I think QuickBooks Online's now, it says 3.4 million online subscribers, which is just, I think we've talked about this and we've talked about it plenty of times, like we've tipped, right? Like we are at mass numbers now of people using online accounting software. Yeah. And so it's just going to keep going. Like I don't see a slowdown in this at all.
So David, Brad Smith is not the only high profile Intuit employee to be departing the company.
Yes, I am also leaving Intuit.
What?
Yes. After 21 years, I have made the decision to leave. It's really, me pursuing a lot of new opportunities. At first, I'm going to step back. Like I'm just going to play Madden football all day on Monday, right? like I'm completely checking out. I'm going to get used to not having an inbox. I'm going to really check out. I mean, I'll still do this with you, right? We'll call and we'll do this, but I'm really going to check out and just kind of reassess what's next, right? It's been an amazing journey. Obviously, there's a lot of tears this week. Right. Was not an easy decision, but I'm really looking forward to what's next on the road. I suspect, I'm not doing anything crazy, right? I'm not taking another job tomorrow or anything like that. I'm not going to go to work for another huge company in our space, but I suspect I'll wind up in our space just because It's the only space I know, right? I do plan on writing some long, sentimental, historically significant LinkedIn posts sometime today or this weekend, and capture kind of just 21 years of emotion and thoughts and history. People said I should write a book, we'll call it transaction history report or something like that and put it out there. But yes, so yes, more news. There's been major exits. I'm very honored. It's kind of amazing timing. I'm very honored to be going out on the day Brad announced as well.
Yeah, good. It's good timing, and you deserve a lot of the credit for helping that small business division grow, with being the ecosystem evangelist for Quick QBO, right? Like, I mean, how many integrations were built in the time that you were doing that?
The first three. I mean, it was like Bill.com, MavenLink, and Shoeboxed, who I think just got acquired. We had 3 apps.
Yeah, and so you had 3 apps, and now there's like over 600.
Yeah. QuickApps.com, depending on how you count and what day you count on, it's pushing 600. And then there's another like 2,700 to 3,000 that integrate with QuickBooks Online as well, that are like, I call them in funnel. Like one day they'll be on apps.com eventually.
Wow, that's amazing. What a crazy 10-year run that has had. So David, there's some more news, and I guess this episode has a theme of like big software company news, right? And something that you brought to my attention was a story about Sage Group. Deutsche Bank downgraded Sage Group on August 20th to a sell, and the shares tumbled about 6.4%. Deutsche Bank's main criticism is that the competitive situation in Sage's core mid-market franchise appears to be worsening, quote unquote. And so that's the reason they're worried that entry-level players like Xero and Intuit, who focus on businesses that are just starting up, are going to move up market and build functionality through either internally or through third-party platform partners, and disrupt Sage's core, mostly desktop-based ERP market. And I thought it was interesting, actually, in this article here in Proactive Investors, that they mention the third-party platform partners. Right? It shows that like Deutsche Bank is aware of this ecosystem concept.
Yeah, it's funny. So this article came out, and like I almost suspect like one of them either listened to our podcast with Matt Paff a couple weeks ago, or they read Matt Paff's blog post, because essentially he was calling this out. Like Xero and Intuit are kind of chipping away at mid-market, and you better be ready. And obviously the investors are recognizing that as a possibility as well. But yeah, we should have listening tracking. We should see if we had any listeners from Deutsche Bank.
I wish we could know. So if you're from Deutsche Bank and we influenced your buy-sell rating, let us know. I'm gonna guess that that's not what's happening here. Just be a little modest.
Okay.
But here's the thing that I don't understand is, so they're criticizing Sage's core mid-market business, but like Sage bought Intact, and the whole idea, I think, behind that was to give Sage a really strong cloud ERP accounting system in the mid-market that they could then go sell globally. And there's no mention of that at all in this article. So it's not clear to me whether or not Deutsche Bank is even aware that that's the plan.
No, that's a good point, right? And then, this is the problem, I think, of news in general these days, right? So the downgrade happened, which is fine, right? But then that's the reported news. Like whoever wrote this article didn't take the time to do the rest of the news. Like, we should look and see what offering Sage has before I write an article and just publish it. So,
and since the 20th, the share price has recovered about half of that. So it seems like the market is not quite as critical.
Or they know a little bit more, possibly.
So what else is new in software?
Thomson Reuters, who's kind of a big legacy player, right, in mid-market, lots of, they have their legal division, but then they also have all their accounting software apps that they bought over the years. Apparently they're launching a cloud product now. So everybody's getting the cloud game.
So it's called On Balance Express, and it's described in this article in Accounting Today as a cloud accounting application for small business. It sounds very, very much like a QuickBooks Online or a Xero. It's going to run from both computer web browsers and mobile devices. It's going to include customer tracking, vendor tracking, invoicing, online payments, expense tracking, banking, blah, 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 and a dashboard interface. Why are they doing this?
I mean, according to the article, they did a survey of small businesses and accountants and found out that people want to streamline processes. And I think they discovered, well, to do this, we need a cloud accounting app. I just don't know how much this is, because I tried to go to the website and look at it. And there wasn't much for screenshots. There wasn't really an easy way to kind of sign. It wasn't a typical SaaS experience where you could just sign up for a trial, give it a run. So yeah, I don't know, how done is this, or is this more just an announcement, or is this like really a thing yet?
And I guess the value is that it's going to integrate with the other Thomson Reuters apps that accounting firms are already using, right? UltraTax, Accounting CS, that sort of thing. But accountants still are not the first place that businesses go, owners go when they're looking to implement software in the US anyway. So, right, if I'm a business owner, I'm looking to implement accounting software. I usually do that before I even have an accountant if I'm starting a business. I go get the accountant later. So I don't know like how much business they're really going to get out of this. And are accountants really going to take the effort to onboard their clients onto these platforms? I mean, maybe this is for big firms, right? If it's affordable enough for them, then they might just roll it out to their clients and say, here's some free accounting software, right? We bundle it with our services.
Yeah, I could see that. You just like, here's something we offer to you for free. You can use QuickBooks or Xero or some other product if you'd like, but here's one we just have because we get it when we buy all the other stuff we get from Thomson. Yeah, it's hard to know for sure. It sounds like a very basic level, typical cloud accounting package, right? Where it's like, hey, it does some tracking, vendors, it does a little bit of invoice, some online payments. You take a photo of a receipt with it. They've kind of hit all the check boxes, so I don't feel like there's anything revolutionary here happening. But you're right. It's and some part of it though is like, welcome to the game, right? Like, welcome.
10 years later.
Hey, yes, thank you for showing up finally.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. I have a feeling that the user experience is not going to be anything like what Intuit or Xero have developed after all of that effort. You're not going to build that in one day, what took a decade to build.
Oh yeah, and it's like I was at the Intuit mothership yesterday, and there's this huge barbecue they had outside, whatever, and thousands of people are working on QuickBooks Online. There's an army of people working on this. It's not like 3 engineers over 10 years. It's an army of people to build cloud
and I think
software.
That's something that Xero had to learn when they came to the US, which is that they had a small developer team here in the US building US specific features, but like not nearly as many engineers as Intuit had developing the product. And so that's actually part of another article that I've got here in our series of big software company news. This is in Financial Review, and it's called "The One ASX Company Bront Capital Thinks Could Be a 100 Billion Global Tech Giant." So John Hempton of Bront Capital, he's an investor in Xero, and he thinks that Xero has a shot at being a $100 billion company. For a variety of reasons, right? We all know there's a huge market out there. It's doubling every few years. A lot of opportunity. I think there's a lot of room for everybody to grow. So that is not surprising to me. But one thing that he said, it was either in this article or in a follow-up blog post that was very interesting to me, is he calls out Xero for having made a huge strategic blunder by going to the United States before going to Europe. And he says that Xero should have gone to Europe first, left Intuit alone, because 10 years ago, Intuit was kind of sleepy, right? There was not much going on with QuickBooks Online, not a lot of, no cloud accounting ecosystem, or not much of one, right? And Xero kind of woke up the sleeping giant, right? And I have no idea, way better than I do about the inner workings at Intuit and what happened, but it just looked, as an outsider, it seems to me like Brad Smith saw this threat and just totally turned the company around and answered that threat to great benefit. Yeah,
you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. I think this is going to be one of the major legacies of Brad. I mean, Brad's set up a lot of legacies, right? And impacted so much change. But like this is maybe the single most important thing he did, because he pivoted Intuit to the future and really set up Intuit to where it is today. But what drove that, and Brad Smith will tell a story, because Brad used to be at Pepsi back in the day. And Pepsi and Coke were just staring at each other 3 inches from each other's face, duking it out. Pepsi, Coke, take the Pepsi challenge, take the Coke challenge, right? In the meantime, bottled water, Snapple, Red Bull, all these drinks alternatives started popping up on the market. And Pepsi and Coke missed it. They just missed it, this disruption that was happening on the market. And then later on, they played catch up and acquired Powerade and all these other companies, right? But they just missed the disruption. And because Brad went through that experience, he was able to recognize this right away and make changes that into it. If it wasn't Brad, it was somebody else, you're right. Intuit may never have pivoted and adapted as fast as we did. I remember talking to Jamie Sutherland, who he was the U.S. president of Xero.
Yep, early, the first. Yeah,
we were at the LAX accounting show early on, and this is when like every single person was coming up. What's this cloud thing? I don't know if I trust cloud. So that's where we were in this space. And I remember sitting at the hotel bar chatting with him for a couple seconds, and I told him that I was like, "You came to the States too early. You woke us up." Like I remember, I was like, "You should just took over the whole world, then came to the States later on." But from a numbers perspective, you said that article talks about them they could be $100 billion company.
Yeah, because the global opportunity, right, for small business accounting is humongous, and it's something that I think Intuit realizes. And Xero is bigger globally than Intuit by far. So it's going to be interesting to see who captures that untapped global market, right? The one that is still desktop, that hasn't yet moved to cloud, because a lot of countries are 10 years behind us.
Yeah, I think one way I've thought about these numbers a little bit, I mean, addressable market maybe is 54 million, right? Like for people that are really going to spend money on software and buy other SaaS apps, right? It's probably easily 54 million for the next 6 to 10 years. And let's say history repeats itself, which means Intuit and QuickBooks gets 89% market share again. Second place, so let's say Xero gets second place, you could say, oh, they lost, but it still makes them bigger, possibly like than Intuit is right now today. Like that gives them like 6 million small businesses using Xero.
Yeah.
And that's if they lose. So it just shows how big this space is. It's gigantic still.
Well, and there's a lot of opportunity for highly localized accounting applications. So I'll have to dig it up. I don't have it in front of me. Maybe we can talk about it next time. There was a story recently about an accounting software startup in, I believe, Thailand. And they make accounting software similar to QuickBooks and Xero, but specifically for the needs of the Thai market. And there's a similar one in Japan called Free, when they just raised something like $60 million. So it's going to be interesting to see whether these local solutions develop and sort of take over that, build a wall around themselves in those markets, or if Xero and Intuit are able to build a global empire.
Yeah, the interesting thing about that is you go into each region. I think, Xero's probably learned this, and I know Intuit and QuickBooks has learned this, is like every time you go to a market, you need two things. You need a payroll product.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
In that market. So that's always difficult. So you got to figure out a way to either build, which is super hard. I've even Xero discovered that in the States. So you have to partner with somebody to get payroll, but then you have this back end tax and compliance side. And so you kind of need that as well. So you can't just, I think the thought was just roll into a new market, roll out your accounting software, and everything's going to work. But no, you have to, every time you need to figure out a payroll solution and possibly back end tax type solutions and really do a lot of partnerships. So you're going to see that going forward, I think a lot more, a slower pace to these other regions, because that just takes time.
You either have to partner, like you said, or you have to have the resources of a multi-billion dollar behemoth behind you, like NetSuite and Oracle, right? NetSuite was US based for 16 years, really. I mean, they weren't going after the international market very aggressively. And correct, I could be wrong about that, but the whole Oracle acquisition, a big reason for that was that Oracle is global and they have all these offices locally, and they can help NetSuite become localized and sell locally and do that effectively and develop all of these features that you need to be successful. Like, for instance, sales tax calculations are super complex in Asia, right? Or payroll or whatnot. And you can do that if you have, thousands and thousands of engineers at your disposal, and you can throw money at it. So it'll be interesting to see what works and what succeeds in the small business versus the mid-size versus the enterprise.
Yeah, I feel like today, we are this week, we'll put down in history. It's like we've been building towards this week, I think, from a cloud accounting standpoint, right? And I know Rod Drury recently made an exit, but it's almost like cloud accounting V2 is now going to come out.
Yes, this is the end of the beginning. The first 10 years of cloud accounting are done, right? The early adopter phase is over.
Should we hurry up and go get this hashtag and trademark this, Cloud Accounting 2.0? Should we jump all over this right now?
It's all yours, David. You better grab it before this podcast gets published. We can call the
episode that. Yes, Cloud Accounting 2.0. But it's been an amazing week amazing week, Blake. I think you said you had a little Flowcast news too, so we don't forget. I forgot you mentioned that.
So I'm going to be in New York in September, and I just wanted to let everyone know who's listening who is in the New York City area that they are invited to a Flowcast event. We're going to be at the Stack Overflow offices. Stack Overflow is an amazing website for programmers where they can share knowledge with each other, and they are a Flowcast customer, so they've generously just offered to host us at their offices in Manhattan. We'll be there on September 13th doing a panel discussion about best practices for the month-end close. So if you're a controller, CFO, and you've got a mid-size organization that you're managing, you're running, or you've got a startup that you are is quickly growing, you might want to come and hear some great learnings from some folks. So we've got the VP of Finance at Stack Overflow, the controller from HelloFresh, the assistant controller at Oscar Health, and a senior manager from CFGI. And of course, our CEO will be there, Mike, and I'll be there as well. So I'll put that link in the show notes to register. All controllers and accountants are welcome to join us.
I have nothing to do. Maybe I'll fly to New York City on a whim and sit in.
Come join us. It'll be fun. Flights are cheap to New York City.
I think there's definitely a direct from Phoenix. There might be one from Tucson by the fall time, I think, as well. Account Text was this week as well. Did you attend that?
No, I couldn't make it.
Did you see any news from that? Like, it feels like it was a very quiet event.
Yeah, no big announcements that I'm aware of. But again, I'm kind of like the Rip Van Winkle. I didn't even know about Intuit until this morning. So
that's great. I think that's it this week. Hopefully next week's a little bit more of a breather week. Maybe we'll get into some other oddball news and less massively industry changing news. Hopefully next week we'll have go deeper.
It would be surprising if that happened two shows in a row. So, David, if folks want to get in touch with you and give you feedback on the show, tell you what to talk about, where should they reach you?
Definitely on Twitter. That's probably the easiest way, at David Leary. And possibly, I swear I'm going to write some long form novel on LinkedIn. Okay. And I'd suggest you jump on LinkedIn. Find me there. I'm David Leary on LinkedIn as well.
Yep. And I'm at Blake T. Oliver on Twitter. And I am getting more and more a fan of LinkedIn. I don't know. I just find the feed to be good. So look me up on LinkedIn, Blake Oliver. And there aren't too many Blake Olivers, but if you type in accountant, I will absolutely pop up.
Perfect. And with that said, we will close out with the introduction of Cloud Accounting 2.0.
It's the end of the beginning.
The end of the beginning.
All right.
Awesome.
Have a great week, David.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Later, Blake. Bye.